This presentation will be about human resources. It's important to remember that managers in the recreation, parks, leisure, and sport need to be knowledgeable about various aspects of human resources and management practices related to human resources. Overall, there are three broad areas of functions and responsibilities for organizations in our field: the organization and delivery of programs or services, supervision and leadership of our programs and services, and all business related duties to our sports, programs, activities, facilities, and so forth. Human resource management is really dealing with how staff function within an organization. It supports the primary line of functions within the program delivery system, or as far as program development, delivery, evaluation, and same thing with facilities. Whether it's creating, distributing, or helping with financial services, successful operations of personnel determines the productivity of an organization. So again, we're looking at how the staff function within an organization and making sure we have them in a primary or a role where they can optimize what they're doing. In this context, we're going to look at people as our resource. So when we say human resources management, we're dealing with the people resources. So we're looking at things at position and classification, recruitment, selection, orientation, so the interview stuff, assignments, appraisals, and promotions. So what are they doing and how can we appraise and promote that good work? Compensation, so money, disciplinary action and grievances. So that's the negative aspects, so you've got the appraisals and promotions on one side, and then you've got the disciplinary action and grievances on the other. And then on to in-service training, where how we develop employees personally and professionally to optimize them as part of our organization. So let's look at position analysis and classification. There are three major components in planning for personnel needs. We need to forecast personnel needs. So we're going to attempt to project future workforce needs. So that is either shrinkage due to the economy or due to improved practices, or growth due to the economy or due to other things, maybe regulations or something like that, where we have to get more people in there. Then we can look at job analysis of specific work activities. So look at specific jobs that need to be done. So breaking a position down into different tasks and jobs. And then we can look at specific talents and abilities required to do them. So really what we want to do here is we've got a position broken into several jobs and tasks, right? And we want to group them to optimize the type of person that's going to fill that role. So if we have a couple of tasks under staff member A and a couple of tasks under staff member B that are very similar, maybe we can combine that, reclassify a position, and have an optimal setup for an employee. So we've got an employee that has certain abilities that can really flourish under that new job classification and description. Then we want to look at the development of sound, detailed plans to meet future personnel needs. So this is when we take the forecasting and the analysis and we really plan it out as far as what we'll need into the future, as far as short-term future, long-term future, and very long-term future. An important little side note here is any agency that falls under the civil service requirements instituted in the 1880s needs to make sure that they have two categories of employees: classified permanent skilled and professional staff, and unclassified political employees or elected officials. So really how I look at this is classified as somebody who interviews for the position with a certain credential skill set, and it has that position regardless of political appointee elections or stuff, anything like that. Whereas an unclassified or a political employee or elected official, if the election changes, let's say it's anywhere from the governor on down, there could be appointees that do not necessarily interview with a skill set for a position. They're appointed to a position. And those people can be let go or retained during the next election or appointee cycle. Whereas classified employees, in order to promote or demote or terminate them, you have to have documentation and cause and all that kind of stuff. Okay, now we're going to look at recruitment, selection, and orientation. So the first thing we want to do when we're looking at hiring or bringing on new personnel is trying to locate qualified individuals, and that could be done in several different ways. Nowadays it's real popular to put an ad online through things like Indeed and other workforce sites that really market to certain people. However, in a lot of circumstances or a lot of cases, the people that you want to attract already have jobs and are not necessarily looking. So you need to go to the recruitment versus just the open application stage. So really what we're looking at here is identifying the right people that you want to fill the position and trying to, in some way, recruit them to apply for the position. Once we've got them in the pool of applicants, so to speak, you've got a good selection of people that are qualified, then we're going to screen them. So we're going to look at different applications, resumes, CVs, whatever information you have in front of you. We're going to screen them to really eliminate the people that are not qualified or cannot fill the position. And then from the rest of them, rank them to people we feel are the most qualified and would be the most successful on down. Now, this is always a little bit of a it's a process that isn't perfect, I guess is the best way to put it. You may have a person ranked very high, bring them in and they do not work out. You may have a person ranked really low. They come in and they fit in and they do a great job. So just know that it's not a perfect process. So overall, after we get a kind of a basis of who we most prefer and are most qualified, so to speak, we start doing interviews. And really interviews are to get to know the candidate a little bit better related to the profession, their goals, let them tell their story as far as where they got to where they are, what they've done professionally and stuff like that. And we're looking for, similar goals. So we're looking for whether they're going to be in a small group or they're going to be part of a company, a department, whatever, what are our goals? How do they fit in? And what are their goals and how do we fit into those? So we want to make sure it's mutually beneficial overall, right? After we've done our interviews and we've got a few selected people that, we think would really do a good job, whether that's 1 to 3 to 5 people we think are really good candidates, we select the candidate we'd like to target as far as bringing on board. Now that's a process in and of itself to make the offer, negotiate the contract, if you will, and then get an agreement in place. And that could be a whole nother discussion of how that would happen. Overall, we want to make sure that we get the best person possible. Sometimes the best person is going to be not available, not willing to come for whatever reason. Maybe it's not a good fit on their side of the coin, so to speak, but we're going to get the best person possible. Next, we want to make sure we have orientation for new employees, and this is critical to get them up to speed as quickly as possible. So get them used to the culture, the rules and policies, and their job as far as their task and their jobs and all that kind of thing. And so some of this stuff can be done pretty quickly, right? As far as paperwork and meeting certain people and identifying certain things, and some of it's going to take a little bit longer. What I like to think about an orientation process that's very quick, and then a mentorship process that's going to be a little bit more ongoing and lengthy. So let's look at recruitment a little bit more for just a second. We can look at 2 main ways to recruit. We can do internal recruitment. So this is really a promotion from within. And then we could do something like an external recruitment where we're going to cultivate different external sources to locate potential employees, whether this is through advertisements, referrals, or professional services. Some people call them headhunters or job agencies and the like. During our screening process, what we'll want to do is make sure that people meet the minimum qualifications, whatever they may be. And then we're looking for the best combination of knowledge, skills, abilities, and experiences. But basically, the screening process really is just to make sure that the people meet minimum qualifications. So before we do the face-to-face interview, we want to make sure we've authenticated their academic credentials or certifications, licenses, whatever those that may be applicable. We want to make sure that we facilitate and have completed the background check as far as whatever that may look like for your position. Sometimes those are a little bit more in depth. And then we want to make sure we check references. So, whether that's a couple on up to sometimes jobs will ask for 5 to 6 references as well. We want to make sure we do all that before we start the interview process to kind of, again, start that screening process early on. And then we have the formal interview, the face-to-face interaction with the potential candidates for the position, right? So what we're really doing is we're providing an exchange of relevant information. So we ask questions related to the job, decision-making related to the job or the position, experience within the profession and stuff like that. We want to look at job-relevant knowledge, skills, and abilities. So we're not going to try to do anything related to personal stuff. Number one, there's laws against that. Number two, we want to make sure we're staying on topic. Everybody's time is precious. It's a commodity, right? So we're going to stay on topic as much as possible. We want to provide the candidate with a realistic overview of what the position entails, whether that be travel, work outside normal work hours, physical demands, things of that nature. And then we really want to create an honest representation of our organization as far as culture, as far as processes and stuff like that go. So we and I want to say we're going to be too honest. We want to provide that in a positive light, but we want to stay away from the negative aspects. No doom and gloom. This is somebody you're trying to bring on board to help create the best workspace possible. So you want to make sure that everything is very positive overall. So make sure that your screening and interview process follows all legal guidelines. And then you move to what is our top person? What's our best candidate, so to speak? And we want to make sure that we're choosing the best candidate for our, not just the position, but the culture and the environment as well. And again, orientation is more of a welcoming to the organization. We want to familiarize the new employee with our practices, procedures, our culture, the vibe, if you will, everything that's the main stuff. And then we want to do stuff like onboarding where we fill out documents and whatnot. Okay, so let's move on to assignments, appraisals, and promotions. Remember that efficient and effective organizations carry out the organization's mission and goals. We want to make sure we assign the right people to the right job task. With that, we want to make sure we evaluate how employees are carrying out their assigned jobs and tasks, and we want to promote individuals into new responsibilities and job duties as the organization evolves. We promote the right individuals. So when we talk about assignment of employees, we really want to make sure that we're finding the best way to utilize their different skills, knowledge, and experiences, right? And that may change over time due to the organization changing, due to the economy changing, due to the social situation changing, whatever the factor may be. The skills needed may change, and the personality needed may change depending on whatever is going on. It also may include, making sure that we're optimizing this may include moving an individual from one position to another. And this is not a reflection of a good or a bad job. It's just a reflection of the changing of what is needed for positions or within positions, right? So overall, organizations' effective use of human resources by integrating individual abilities and organizational needs to be optimized. So when we talk about effective use, we're talking about optimizing who we have and how we can get the best out of our staff and get the best outcomes for our organization. We do want to do periodic performance appraisals, and this is going to ensure that we're running as effectively and efficiently as possible. We want to provide the manager with the information to guide decision-making regarding promotions, training, and long-range planning. So performance appraisals fall under that. And performance appraisal techniques will aid in developmental training programs. So one thing that we can notice is when we see certain trends within our appraisals, we can offer in-service training professionally or personally that would kind of guide, to overcome some of the weaknesses or some of the things we've found as far as speed bumps or potholes or whatnot. And then also, it helps employees better understand their individual strengths and weaknesses. So beyond what we may provide as an organization for training, somebody can, find out, through a performance appraisal, things they need to work on or things that they should really understand that it's a strength or whatnot, however you may look at that, and really do some, introspection as to how they can better themselves personally and professionally. There are really two ways that performance appraisals really affect the long-term planning of an organization. So we have a lot of short-term things that we try to overcome through it, but long-term, it allows us to identify potential problem areas and take corrective action for the long term. So we can migrate resources to address problem areas, or we can, so we're shifting resources from one place to another, or we can shift personnel from one place to another. And that's what the other part of it is we can, these performance appraisals helps us identify individuals that may have promise for the future or vice versa, right? And we'll talk about that here in a second. So who can we identify that's going to have the potential to do other things or bigger things or so on and so forth? And I just wanted to look at a couple of different performance appraisal techniques here. We're not going to go into these in any depth, but we can look at rating scales. So rating an individual based on different factors. We can look at management by objectives, where we identify objectives and rate from there. Force distribution, whether that's individual with we have different areas and we distribute or we rank them per individual, or if we look at a staff as a whole and who's the top at this and who's the bottom at that, and so on and so forth. But just know that there's a wide range of performance appraisal techniques out there, and you need to look at what may best suit the organization or agency that you're working with. So another way to look at this is conducting evaluation interviews, and this is really a conversation between a supervisor and employee. So this is an open discussion of the evaluation, right, or the performance appraisal. It's an opportunity for employees to receive the feedback and identify things that they can improve, and it helps them improve themselves versus the company or agency doing the professional development, right? So overall, we're looking at an exchange of information related to the performance appraisal. And overall, if done well, these can be very effective at helping correct a lot of minor things that people just may or may not be aware of. Let's talk about promotions for a second. And this is really the advancement of the employees that are already in place. So I really believe an organization should try to promote individuals from within. They've got the institutional knowledge, they've got the commitment and the understanding of the organization, and so on and so forth. This is not to say that you can't bring somebody in from the outside or an external person and do a good job. But if we've got the internal resources to do it, number one, I think you're gonna have a better organization as far as utilizing the resources you already have, and then you're gonna use less resources on recruiting, onboarding, and all that. Really, there's two factors to be considered if you're talking about promotion of an individual. The first one's merit. Does the person deserve the opportunity? As far as have they done well in the position? Have they shown the professional signs as far as knowledge, skills, and abilities to be successful in the new position? And overall, have they done a good job in a roundabout way with the company or organization? And then we can also look at seniority, and a lot of times you might have somebody that's just, two people are equally qualified and probably could both do a good job, and one person's been there longer. So we can look at that as an option as well. Then we come to the old compensation discussion. So overall, it's important to remember that people are motivated both intrinsically and extrinsically. So, and pay, compensation is an extrinsic motivation. So, equitable pay programs must be established and administered. What we're looking at here is looking at fair and just pay practices. And this has come to be a more relevant issue recently, is the best way to put it, regarding a whole host of factors. But what you want to do is have an established guideline and administer it appropriately. This may involve structuring of objective wage systems and merit programs. So if we're looking at like classifying it certain ways, this job is classified under this pay scale, so on and so forth. And then looking at merit programs, whether that's one-time payments for jobs well done, or overall it's a compensation adjustment as far as hourly or salary wages increased. The other way we can look at compensation is looking at stuff like fringe benefits. So this is things like paid vacations, holidays, health insurance, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of different things we could put into that category, but that's also a type of compensation. Time off is another one. So we think about teachers. They have a certain expectation, typical school year, and then they have certain times and freedoms during other parts of the year. And that's part of the compensation package overall. So in general, we're going to look at compensation as a big umbrella, but overall, we want to make sure we administer our compensation philosophy fairly and equitably across the board. All right, to summarize here, we're going to look at human resources overall being involved with the acquisition of new employees. They deal with work relationships as far as retention and development of employees. We're going to look at training of employees based on various factors. And really, we're going to look at human resource management is overall the management of the people of the organization. That concludes our presentation on human resources.